Missandei says, you've brought them freedom as well. And she's like, the freedom to starve? Missandei? the freedom to fucking starve? And Missandei's like, whoa, okay, my bad.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate, and joining me once again on this adventure through these books is my brother Zach.
Yo, you're just bland. Your intros are bland as shit. Do you get bored listening to his intros? I do. You gotta put a little pepper on there. You gotta put a little pepper on there. You gotta put a little pepper on there if you're gonna do a good intro.
I guess
just put a little pepper on there.
What kind of pepper?
Heyo, what up, everybody? Like that, a little pepper on there. Just a little pepper. Hi, everybody. We are a full spoiler reread podcast, as Nate boringly mentioned earlier. So if you haven't listened to us before, this is your warning at the top of the show. We will be talking about everything that is currently published, possibly during this episode. So get on that.
Yeah, we might not also, because that's a lot.
There's a lot to cover. It's a fun time to be in this fandom. We we recently got, and I've still been like checking it out here and there, a new trailer for a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, those are fun.
It looks fucking phenomenal. As much as Nate and I weren't exactly fans of the last season of Hot D, it was a great show. It's still a good show. I'm still excited for season 3. I am fucking hype train awooga for Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, Egg, I want to slap that little bald head, give him a forehead kiss, and tuck him into bed. That kid is adorable, and I'm here for it. Dunk the Lunk looks equal parts hot and lunky, and so here for it. And it's got a very small folk vibe that the fucking puppeteer, what's her name? Tisella? Nope.
I don't remember.
I can't remember her name right now, but the puppets are huge and breathing real fire. Big, and not at all Jim how Henson, I pictured it. But I'm here for it. It just looks incredible. And then get the fuck out of the way. It's gonna be funny.
You think you're a Targaryen? Yeah.
Right. Are you?
Fucking move.
Yeah, it's going to be funny. It's going to be good stuff. So it's a cool time to be a fan right now. So,
but this podcast, we read the books.
Well, we're coming to the end of a book.
We are.
Because today is our final check-in with one of the major characters, if not what some people might call one of the main characters of these books.
Yeah.
Daenerys. Dany 6. I almost said Dany 10. It was Tyrion 10 was last episode.
I almost said Dany 10 also. 6.
Dany 6, her final chapter here in A Storm of Swords. And it is apparent because it's Chonky Boy, as you and I were just discussing.
She's a parent.
She is not a parent.
Misa. Mother.
My dogs are my children. My dragons are my children.
And her slaves. Whoa,
that she freed. Doesn't keep slaves.
Sure, but she frees them and then lets them become slaves again, so...
That's not her choice.
So, that is her choice.
You're twisting things out.
Here we go!
Right. So, yes, Dany's final chapter. Last we left Dany, she had it was made for her. Barristan and Jorah were trying to one-up each other in revealing secrets upon secrets on who's got a secret. They had arrived outside of Astapor and Mereen, and Dany's been doing a whole circuit. She followed the trail of dead children to Mereen as they were laid
Can you stop clicking your fucking pen? Jeez,
sorry, I'm doing a pen click. He gets mad because he edits stuff and he has to deal with it, and so he yells at me a lot. He's not really angry, listeners.
No, he's fucking livid.
All right, now I don't feel safe in this booth, so somebody please call the police.
Can you continue?
Nope. Not until someone
following the path of dead children, what you will become if you don't stop clicking the pen.
I'm not a child anymore. I'll act like one.
Yes, so she was outside of Astapor debating on how she was going to handle this bitch. And she had heard some stories from her friend Brown Ben Plum.
I think it's Mereen, no? It was Mereen, because that's where we're at.
You're right, because Astapor was the
She
other
took
one.
Astapor.
You said Astapor,
I know,
so then it was stuck in my head. She already took Astapor.
She was traveling
King
from
Cleon's
Astapor, and the Grandmasters had left the children nailed to posts before her, and basically pointing her to the way, mocking her, ha ha ha, bitch. And I clicked the pen again. I'm gonna just put it down. He was grilling me. So she arrives at Mereen, and while trying to figure out what to do, they had Mereen's hero was outside mocking them. So Belwas went up and fucked his shit up, and she was attacked outside. While among her freedmen, Barristan took care of that shit for
Barry
her.
the Bold.
Jorah was doing his, don't trust anybody but me, and him and Barristan outed each other's secrets. He outed Arstan as Barristan. Barristan outed Jorah as the spider's informant on Dany.
Suck it.
And Dany had no idea how to deal with them, wanted to send them off, send them away, and then she knew where to send them. And it was the sewers. She was going to send them.
She's going to send them
where
sewers.
Brown Ben Plum pointed out that there were sewers, and there was scary shit in there, which we do learn was actually confirmed fact. But there was bad shit in there. The shit runs high, and so she was like, "Oh, what a good if you die in there,
Suicide Squad.
It gets me rid of my traitors. But if you happen to succeed, it gets me the city that I want." And so that was where we had left it. Is Dany knowing where to send them? So at the top here, this is Dany's final A Storm of Swords chapter. This chapter, it is pretty brazenly apparent that George was writing for a gap.
Yeah, that he was kind of just setting up the option and ability to walk away from her for a lengthy period of time.
Yep, that her dragons were going to age, that she had some growing up to do, that lots of things. And it's a chonky boy chapter. There is a lot here. A lot of things that do come up in dance, and we have to deal with. We do have to untie this Marinese knot, but there's a ton to it here, and we leave a whole book without Dany. We're going to be diving into Feast next, and there is just nothing.
She's gone.
But he leaves us with plenty to ponder.
Yeah, so this is a very introspective chapter. So lots of internal thoughts on basically everything from Dany.
We open with Dany. Last episode we were reading Tyrion, as we know. Trial, sad, Oberyn, dead. Tyrion is, gonna die, so he's in the Black Cells. But King's Landing stuff has minimal nominal effect here now. Dany is breaking her fast under a persimmon tree, watching her dragons chase each other around the top of the pyramid where the harpy was once stood. So immediately it's that, oh, hey, she took the city, already tore down the harpy. The dragon symbol is already replacing the harpy symbol at the apex of the pyramid, which is very cool because they're living dragons. They ain't no bullshit statue. Old geese, new geese. Geese this, bitch. I did the suck it sign, but you can't see because we're not a...
And he barely did that. It was more like
I'm
fucking
sitting.
thrust
I'm
in
sitting.
his chair. So, anyway, I do want to point out that a lot of this chapter is going to start, in my opinion, highlighting and setting up a villainous fall in the end for
correct.
Dany. We're going to see a lot of it here. Just these little...
However could she go Mad Queen?
It makes me think of The Haunting of Hill House.
Ooh.
How the brother who's the older brother, he's always pretending he never saw shit, and finally, towards the final... Again, full spoiler, so if you haven't seen it, go fucking watch it.
We're talking about every series, not
the
just
father
Aswaf.
is telling him, listen, you kind of outed yourself as seeing a ghost from the get in your book because you mentioned this guy, this clock repairman, in your story. That guy never existed.
He ain't
that
real.
was a ghost, you dumb shit. You didn't even realize.
Damn, Dad, I'm 12. Chill.
Yeah, no, at this point he's in the
Oh,
future.
he's old.
Yeah. Because he'd already written the book. Anyway, it's very much that where we're seeing these little things that are just inherently there for Dany that she doesn't even realize aren't good things. She mentions that she stops the pillaging and raid, after so long it's done. Now it's time to be a civilized city. But she still allowed the sacking, pillaging, and raping of this entire city.
Yeah.
That didn't not occur.
It's Joker saying we live in a society.
You didn't learn from Mereen Mazdur
Right,
that,
right.
just because you're ending it and putting a call to it, you're still allowing it to happen in the first place. And it's just wild that
So,
she doesn't see
because
any of that.
we all know your boy loves him some symbolism, persimmons are symbolic of prosperity, transformation, and good luck, as well as the autumnal season. But the most interesting one I thought was the fruit's journey to bitter unripe to sweet ripe represents the path to wisdom. And it is also known as the food of the gods. And so all of these things can be applied to Dany, the path to wisdom, all of that. But as you just said, there is also still a bit of naivete because she, from up here, can see the whole wide city and the land beyond, and it's beautiful. I love the description of the city below her. But she, alarmingly, kind of feels like a little bit of a god up here, sitting up on high.
Yeah,
Up on the
yeah.
Mount Olympus, looking
She
down.
definitely has this kind of analogy with, listening to her handmaidens and what gods they believe in. And Missandei knows of the god of Noth is just one god, and then there's the red gods who are two eternally at war, but whichever ones they are, they've got to be alone at the top.
Yeah, she
This
wonders,
must
do
be
all
what it
gods feel
feels
so
like.
lonely? Equating herself to a god. And, she's not, oh, I am holier than thou, I am a god. But, this is still an alarming thought when you're the only person in the world with nuclear warheads,
Right.
i.e. dragons. And so, yeah, her already equating herself to this level. And I understand that it's more of the God's Eye. See what I did there? The God's Eye. It's a lake in Westeros, in case you didn't know. She's got this God's Eye view of the city, and that's where the thought comes into her mind. But the do all gods feel so lonely is a very Targaryenism thing to think.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's alarming. And so absolutely it starts here if it didn't start earlier and you're like, oh, how could she go Mad Queen? It's because she's having thoughts like this.
And then I would like to also point out that them bitches over in Westeros, Sansa and Littlefinger, I don't believe were eating any persimmons. They had some pomegranates there, but no persimmons. Did you hear a Lamy cat?
I did hear a Lamy, I thought.
God dang Lamy cat running around.
Yeah, no, there were no persimmons in their little fruit banquet. It was pomegranates, as we know. And so, yeah. Dany, then, as you said, she kind of reflects on Noth's the Lord of Harmony and the Westeros Seven. They're all aspects of one, and they all seem pitiable to her. So, again, she's pitying the gods because of their loneliness, but
because they're like her.
Because they're like
it's
her.
It's tough to be a god.
Sure. The city is overrun with flies, which bother Dany as she eats, which is just a very fun, especially after House of the Dragon was made into the show and they did the visual element of the rats in Viserys' reign. The flies, I think, are a very good symbolic image of the rot that's going to begin to fester Dany's rule here.
Yeah, I think it definitely also shows a subtle distaste from her towards the poor and the poorer ways of life, in that she's already saying, I'll make sure that this is dealt with as I begin my rule, no more flies. Well, obviously there is the good-hearted natured part of Dany, which is she's going to clean the place up, make it clean.
It's not to take away from any of the good Dany's done, but there absolutely is this and the flies also, I think, could be symbolic of the literal mounds of corpses that she stepped upon to get to this apex of her godhood where she's overlooking the city. As she'll reflect on here in not many paragraphs, her freedmen literally had to move corpses so she could come through into the city.
Right, to make a path for her.
They were piled. There were mounds of corpses. And Dario has the great line that flies are the dead men's revenge, which is just such a good line. But Missandei is serving her, and Dany reflects on how fond she's grown of the little scribe She is wise beyond her years and brave as well. She had to be because of the life that she lived. And Dany hopes one day to see Noth and promises to return Missandei there, even though Missandei says that she's content to be with Dany.
I think little Missandei is the persimmons, and that's a whole other thing that Dany's just eating this little girl. Like, she thinks she's saving her.
This set alarm bells off for me because I was like, Dany, I don't want you anywhere near Noth.
This is very Stockholm syndrome-y, but also this.
If Dany goes to Noth, I think she's bringing fire and blood to Noth,
for sure.
And I don't like that at all.
No harmony.
Leave the butterfly people alone, which I also think it's got fly right there in the name. Like, you're annoyed by these things, and we learn that Noth is kind of overrun with them, but they're also the protection of this little place, that the butterflies carry some sort of venom,
and then the dragons are the rulers of the sky, and so
we don't
leave
like it.
Noth alone.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Like, you don't need to go there, Dany. So chill. So she bathes and dresses, but when she takes the looking glass and takes a look at herself, she sees only a little girl, not a conqueror. And she thinks that Aegon had taken Westeros with 3 dragons, while she took Mereen with sewer rats and a wooden cock. And this is where we get the sort of reflection, as she had all her captains run their ships aground, and they were pulled apart. They were scavenged for the wood and the materials. Their masts were turned into battering rams, and hence it's Grolio, one of her captains, laments his ship being turned into Josos cock, the main ram that actually breached the city. And so it's an interesting, again, the ship of Theseus type thing going on with the
breaking apart the ship,
with having to literally rip it apart to scavenge it. These were the things that were going to carry her home, and now they are completely disassembled, so she can focus her efforts elsewhere. And it's a very on-the-nose visual metaphor of, like, you just ripped apart your only vehicle home. Like, what's the point of this whole journey for you if not to go back to Westeros to claim your father's throne? That was what it's all been about.
Just become a conqueror and rule other countries.
And so if the very last sentence of this chapter, where she chooses to stay and rule Mereen, comes as a surprise to you, it's because you're really not paying attention at all, because she's already made this decision before she even took Mereen.
Right, again, her march to Karth and to Astapor and finally to Mereen, she got her ships. Like, when she finished up in, what was it, Astapor is where she got the ships. There was no reason besides, I'm going to do and make sure that everyone else follows what I want. Which is strange, because she's traveling around with a man who she claimed to trust, who was selling her out the whole time, who was banished from her home for being a slaver.
Yep.
And yet you're going around freeing all the slaves while listening to every word he speaks to you, until she doesn't here, but it's clear when you're looking for it that she's got a very warped viewpoint on things, and there was no reason for her to come to Mereen besides to fucking qualm her own, I want to do this, I want to conquer because that's what I'm supposed to do.
She had wanted to lead the attack, but all her captains agreed that that was absolutely madness, and she thinks, it's not often that my captains agree on anything, so I listened to that. And instead, she was in the rear when the city fell, and her dragons all roared at once as they heard the cheer go up from the free folk, and she thought that her rats had chewed the chains off of the slaves. And
Lamish,
I'm pretty sure he's locked in there.
Oh, no, why. I don't think so. Zach's going to take a quick little peek to see where the hell this...
Oh, no, he's not. He wants to go in there.
I don't think he actually wants to. I think he just wants us to open the door so that he feels heard. What a whiner cat. Apologies. He apparently doesn't want us to finish Dany.
He's going to miss her.
That's all right.
But, yes, so this is where she notes that then she entered the city. Her freedmen had to make a path through the dead so that she could enter, which, again, you're stepping over the corpses of those who came before, just to make your kingdom. The slaves cheered her and called her mother as she went by, which of course gives her the gratification that she's doing the right thing.
Right.
Which isn't to say that freeing the slaves is not a good thing to do.
And
obviously,
her
it is.
intentions are pure for the most part, and she's a product of the way she was raised with Viserys. That's one of the benefits that Barristan Selmer is going to offer her here towards the end of the chapter anyway, is a little bit of the wisdom of the past and learning from what he's seen.
The Grandmasters are brought into the plaza and stripped bare of their finery. They look a pathetic sort. They are old men with shriveled balls and young men with silly fucking hairdos. The women are just as bad, and Dany demands their leaders, and when one of the women, sobbing, asks her how many they have to give to be spared, Dany answers 163, which is the number of children, the number of miles that were posted up between Astapor and Mereen. She had them nailed to wooden posts around the plaza, each man pointing at the next. She had felt angry enough when making the order, but then when she actually sees them and smells the shit in the blood, and then she has to kind of convince herself, I did it for the children. It was for the children. It was just. And I don't disagree that, some severe punishments needed to be meted out. As we had discussed, I'm quite convinced that nailing those children to the posts was one of the most evil, if not the most evil act we see in these books.
Right.
The consequences here are pretty harsh when you see them laid out.
Yeah, the only thing that I honestly would have done differently is put it outside the gate. That way it's not stinking up your town square.
Feels very blood sacrificey to do it in your little central plaza here of your new city. There's an interesting vibe to it that it's like right outside where.
Well, it's coupled with, we know that the Pale Mare is going to be coming through. There's going to be some nasty disease coming her way.
Right, she's whining about the flies.
Like, what do you wonder why? Like, again, just like you said, these guys, of all the people, deserve what they got. Why do you need to think these things?
Yeah,
through.
it's no
She's
sympathy
so
for them.
Is all.
Yeah. To circle them around your own plaza of the city you mean to rule is wild. And then that they didn't have to sit there and look at the children and hear the children whining, as they ordered slaves to do it, and then they had them posted up on mile markers, not in their city, so that they had to stare at it. That's why she starts to feel a little guilty about it, where she's like, ooh, maybe I was a little harsh.
And I think that's what differentiates her from, like, Joffrey, is the fact that she can realize when some of her stuff is.
She's not without empathy.
But that's not going to stop her from
she still made the choice. They are still there. She's just suffering alongside that decision. Like, they're still, because she has them ordered to be removed later in the chapter. And Dario is basically like,
bring some bags.
LOL, bring a fucking shovel, because they're puddles at this point. And she's like, yes, I know. Let's not actually say the words, please and thank you. But, like,
why?
Right, why at this point? You've been dealing with it. So, her audience chamber below her little apartments here, in her audience chamber, there was a throne of carved and gilded wood in the shape of a savage harpy. She immediately ordered that broken up for firewood and instead chooses to hold court from a simple ebony bench that she sits upon. I do like this decision. A ruler shouldn't exactly be comfortable, so the fact that she chooses just to have something
hardwood bench
with no back support is a very, this is why I think a lot of people are like, no, Dany's good. She does have good ideas. She could be a good ruler. Again, you're handing a young teenage girl who was told her whole life that the world belongs to her 3 nuclear warheads. Of course she's going to grow up with a pretty fucking jaded view of the world and a sense of entitlement. And so I don't think that Dany is inherently an evil person or a bad person. But as you had said earlier, good intentions pave that road to hell more often than not. And so I absolutely do think that while she believes she's doing the right thing here, it's a slippery slope. And so all of her captains are here awaiting her. Her Blood Riders, Grey Worm, Daario, Brown Bem, Eerie, Jiqui, Missandei. And her thoughts go back to those damned prophecies that she had heard. She wonders which one is going to betray her next, because she's got 2 betrayers that she needs to deal with already. And so, spoiler alert, it's Brown Ben Plum.
Brown Ben Plum.
Because she even thinks, like, oh, solid old Brown Ben. Like, we like that guy. He's got Targaryen blood. And like,
he's a good old boy. Good old.
Yeah, he sure is.
Yeah. But we get into Gale, was that his name? Gale from Astapor?
Oh, well, before, because she asked for, like, how is the city doing? And it's reported calm now because she had ordered the murderers hanged, the looters to lose a hand, and the rapists to lose their manhood. And so, very similar to Daemon Targaryen's Gold Cloaks, some pretty harsh, severe justice being meted out as soon as she takes the city, which it's kind of expected to happen when you take a city by force. And so it's this interesting dichotomy of, we learn that her Dothraki, her Khalasar, did the same. They're all adorned in jewels and shit that they were free to take, but...
And we see that they had put, like, the time limit on it, that they had until she put that, now it's time to be done, now you get cut, you're murdered, you get hanged, if or hands chopped at this point. But anything before that, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. There's a statute of limitations here.
Right.
So she complains of the flies here, and that's when Daario jokes at the dead men's revenge. And so she orders the bodies, the corpses, all disposed of. And this is when she orders the men around the Grand Masters, not just men, but the Grand Masters around the plaza, their bodies to be disposed of. And Dario's like, yep, take a bag and a shovel, because they're pretty rotted. And Missandei speaks up, and she's like, those of, like, the Geese lineage usually had them interred in a special way, so perhaps,
boil the bones,
boiling and cleaning the bones and sending them back to the families so that they can be interred properly. And Dany does order this done, so there is, some respect to the corpses being shown. And then we learn that there are 2 partitioners today. They had arrived from Karth on the ship, the Indigo Star, the ship's captain, and an envoy from Astapor. And so she decides to see the envoy first, and this is Gale, as Nate had said, here on behalf of King Cleon of Astapor.
The Butcher.
And Dany does the blink meme, and she's like, excuse me, I left a council in charge of Astapor? And this is where Gale tells her that King Cleon had learned of a most vile plot, a treasonous plot, that those council members that she left planned to reinstate the Grand Masters. And so he exposed their plot and then cleaved off their heads. And now he sits and rule as king. And little wise Missandei is like, is this the same Cleon who was a slave butcher under, one of the masters? And he's like, yeah, the very same. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. Bet. Just checking. And so Dany laments that she's given Astapor a butcher king.
Yeah, Dany's not pleased with that. And Gale's basically here to offer a marriage proposal up to connect them. And obviously we see that the Butcher King has gone a little nuts with his own little ploys, regardless of whether the council was doing that or not. But he took over and has done the exact opposite. Started training up the Unsullied again.
Yeah, he wants a pact between Astapor and Mereen against the Young Kai, because the Young Kai are bastard dogs that can't be trusted. They have been sending envoys to New Geese and Volantis, and even dispatched riders to face Dothrak to bring a Khalasar down upon her. But, graceful King Cleon will set aside all of his pregnant wives to do a marriage pact with you, girl. Like, it's the coolest fucking thing you've ever heard. And Dany's like, cool. I'll think about that. But you gotta give me some time. So she has him, given some nice quarters, and is like, let me sit with that one for a minute. And so he is dismissed, and Dany isn't pleased about that.
Right. Daario mentions that the there are slaves that want to be sold into slavery. They would like to be allowed to. And she's like, what are you talking about? And Missandei and Daario explain that there were slaves that were working for higher up, better, richer lords. They were basically the lords of the slaves who would still like to remain slaves because ever since that slavery ended, they've kind of been fucked. They don't have any way to make any income or have good food or roofs over their head. And these slave lords, the people that were keeping them, kept them comfortable and healthy because they had the money to do so. And so it's, again, it's that kind of weird, the corporate CEOs, I feel like some of those slaves are just barely a slave themselves, where they're also running slave trading themselves, and they are essentially common folk because they're slaved to.
Trickle down economics.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, you can't smash the whole system and expect there not to be ramifications. It just doesn't work like that. Yes, slavery is inherently evil, absolutely. But there's still, it's similar to the Maester system in Westeros. Look at Maester Luwin. He became basically a honorary Stark. He was a part of that family as much as he was their maester and their, helper. He helped Catelyn give birth. He helped raise those children. He cared about those boys and girls and Sansa and Arya. But Bran and Rickon, at the end there, he very much so loved and cared about that family. And so there are cases where, I'm sure, certain slaves were treated like members of the family, much less so than the horrible, depraved slavery that we see a lot of.
Right.
It's a fringe case, but there were still cases like that. And so, yeah, Dany says, okay, any man or woman who wishes can sell himself into slavery, but not their children. And a man can't sell his wife. I'm not having that shit. But anyone who wishes to volunteer themselves, sure.
And again, Missandei jumps in and she's like, yo. 10% of that always goes to the city. So get yours. Make sure you're getting some of that.
And Daario is like, yeah, all right, the storm crows will make sure you get your 10th. And so, yeah, Dany will be taking a little chunk of that. And just like that, the breaker of chains became a slaver.
Boom.
That's got to taste shitty in her mouth, but yeah, you're benefiting off of slavery yourself there now, Dany, so it's messy, this, breaking the wheel type shit.
Right. And so she finally does summon Barristan and Jorah to be confronted about, they're popping off with each other's secrets, putting each other on blast up there on them socials. And she first talks to Barristan, who kind of goes in on her family a little bit, about how Viserys was a little crazy and fell more in line with her father than her brother, and that she kind of seems to be following more of that Rhaegar. I think it's just that he hasn't been with her long enough to see and because he goes very much into detail later about how it's a slipping thing. It starts off slow.
Well, I don't think he's wrong either. I think she is more like Rhaegar than Aerys.
Well,
when Aerys was 15, I don't think he was, mad yet either.
Right, but I also think that Rhaegar had his moments too, where he's hearing or seeing shit, and so, yeah, it takes time. Where just because she's this young doesn't mean that these episodes of her fucking taking over the city of Mereen for no particular reason, or the way she went after Mirri Maz Duur for Mirri Maz Duuring, whatever she felt was due there. I think she goes to the extreme, and some of those can be looked at as the taint that she refers to it as, or you were on the wrong side of the coin. You just need to live a bit longer for it to finally slide down like an avalanche and you burn them all. and so we're just not quite there yet.
Jorah's also running his mouth during this whole exchange, which annoys the shit out of me, because she says, like, I will admit you two helped me win this city, and Jorah's like, we won you this city. And she thinks, you know, shut the fuck up, she says to him, but thinks that it is true because, you know, they actually did make it through the sewers, and they had lost a man down below in the sewers, which is gross and scary. But it was what was it? Not a huge rat. It was a huge rat. One of the huge rats. Oh, no, sorry. A pale lizard that reared up out of the dark water. A great pale lizard dragged off a man by his leg, which is fucking terrifying. But Jorah killed it when next they saw ripples, and then they were able to make their way through because luckily the shit was only thigh high. And that's how they were able to help free some slaves who helped them liberate the city from the inside. And so her plan did work of sending them through the sewers, but
she wished that they died.
Jorah also needs to shut the fuck up and not be running his mouth right now, which she does note when they walk in that, like, Jorah's looking down and Barristan is kind of one is shamed, one is proud, and, like, I mean, sure, absolutely. Barristan doesn't really have too much to hide or be ashamed about. I mean, his apology was pretty pathetic, but yeah, he didn't lie to her like Jorah did.
Right.
He didn't sell her secrets. He lied about who he was. And so there's a much bigger difference here. But she repeats that you helped me win the city and you served me well. And, you know, Barristan did save me from the Titan's bastard. And Jorah did save me in Baze Dothrak from the Poisoner and from Drogo's Blood Riders after he died. Yet you lied. And you lied. And you fucking lied. And so, yeah, Barristan gives her, you know, the history. And Barristan's the easy one. Like, right. He's pretty easily forgiven.
Right. He basically is saying, I just had to make sure you weren't a fucking lunatic who was going to go and pop off against every person you see for no reason whatsoever. I don't see that. You seem to be more like Rhaegar.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with you. Now it's cool that you know who I am. And she's like, great. Yeah. I forgive you.
He gives her every time a Targaryen's born, the gods flip a coin line, and she's like, oh, this is news to me, but okay, sure.
And we get that from, Jaime in the show and not Barristan?
I don't recall.
I think it's Jaime telling it to Brienne. Yeah. But, yeah, she forgives him, and he swears his sword to her, and all is forgiven there.
Yep.
And then she goes in on Jorah and starts questioning. He never apologizes either, but he reveals that he was spying as recently as Karth. And she's like, hold the fucking fuck up. What?
Yeah.
She didn't realize it was nearly that recent. And is pissed off at stupid, nasty Jorah. And I agree with Dario here. He should have killed this son bitch.
Yeah, she has the realization, like, oh, you were the one who told him I was pregnant with Drogo's child. So you're the reason they were trying to kill my baby. Understood. And for that's the line for her, is, I think, where she's like, okay, if anything I had felt for you before is now fucking gone.
Right, I'm done listening, talking, thinking of you. You tried to kill my kid.
And then Barristan also, throws it out where he was like, absolutely, that's true, Your Grace, because I was there at the council meeting, and, Varys even threw out the idea of, maybe Jorah will kill the baby for a pardon. And, it's just a savage admittance from Barristan.
Right.
Just throwing more fuel on the fire Jorah's like, a lie, I would never. And, Dany's like, I mean, you kind of already did, though. It was your words that put the assassination in motion anyway, so
right.
What difference is it for you to hold the knife?
Right, that's I may have given him the gun, but I took out most of the bullets, so that way it's
I only
less
left
likely
a single bullet in
right.
there, so, chances are he was going to fire a blank at you.
Exactly. What?
And so, yeah, he's begging for forgiveness and says, you have to forgive me. And she's like, have to.
Oh.
You should have. And she thinks to herself, he should have started by begging my forgiveness. He came in here way too fucking haughty and proud and like, we got you this city.
I mean, very
like,
Daemon, honestly, with expecting his station here to be established at this point because of his relationship with her.
because he kissed her fucking weirdly.
Inappropriately
and
touched
she
your
even
boss.
thinks on that because he says, I protected you, I fought for you, I killed for you. And she thinks, kissed me, betrayed me. And then, she's like, I really kind of wish you just died in the sewers because this is hard for her. And then he says, Daenerys, I have loved you. And she thinks, and there it is. The 3 treasons you will know, once for blood, once for gold, and once for love. And so she tells him, you're banished. Get your shit. Go to King's Landing if you can. Collect your pardon. I don't care, but get the fuck out of my city. If you don't, if you're here before nightfall, I'll have Strong Belwas twist off your head, which is my favorite threat that's been delivered so far in this book series. Like,
Strong Belwas will just
boop, yep,
done. No more Jorah.
Reaches for her and she slaps his hand. He calls her Daenerys, which absolutely makes me sick. And she slaps his hand away and says, don't ever presume to touch me or speak my name again. And turns her backs on him, and she's, trying to hold herself together, thinking, I must not weep. I'm the dragon. I can't weep. If I weep, I will forgive him. And so Belwas grabs Jorah and drags him out. And then she sits down and thinks, he's gone. He was kind of my last tie to Westeros. My father, my mother and brothers, Sir Willem Darry, Drogo, who was my son in stars, the son who died inside me, and now Sir Jorah. And Daario, slinks up like a cat, and he's like, my queen has a soft heart, but we probably should have just taken his head, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, she says you either should have let him stay with you and forgave him, or you should have fucking killed him. But letting him go was a mistake.
And he's like, it's not too late. Even, you don't even have to say the words. Just, not blink your eyes twice, and I'll do it. I'll go get him right now.
Were those actual blinks, or were you blinking in response to my...
I'll bring that ugly bear head to you. And she's like, no, leave him be. She says the scales are balanced now. So for some reason, she still feels some debt to him, and now feels like this is the paying off of that, of letting him live. I also want to go back a ways, but... She notes that Daario, since entering the city, has, gotten himself a whole wardrobe upgrade.
Yeah.
Re-dyed his beard, and it almost gives him the Targaryen purple eyes, which is just, I think, attracting her to him all the more.
I think it's similar to what Loras was doing with the Mountain and playing a game,
With the horses? Yeah.
He knows how to attract her. What she hasn't seen before is herself reflected. And so he's trying to show that he can be just as powerful and imposing as she, but really he's going to fall short.
Fall short. So she basically all but runs back upstairs and tells Irri to bring her the book that Jorah had given her, full of children's stories from the Seven Kingdoms. And she knows that they're all kind of bullshit, but she loves them all. She had been reading last night the one of the 3 princesses in the Red Tower, locked away by the king for the crime of being beautiful. This calls to mind the Maiden Vault, if you know your Targaryen history in King's Landing.
This also makes me think that Martin does a nice, subtle kind of grounding Dany and reminding us how young she is.
Right, she's still a child. She's a baby.
This is very reminiscent of Sansa chapters, where Sansa has learned that the songs are songs, and she's kind of romanticizing them at this point.
Yeah.
But still loves them and enjoys them, and it's Dany's very similar. She knows these are bullshit.
I'm glad you said that, too. Because earlier, too, I meant to call to mind that Dany, when talking about her ships being taken apart for the battering ram, she said their masts had become her battering rams, and swarms of freedmen had torn their hulls apart to build mantelets, turtles, catapults, and ladders. Johnny Boy Snow was literally just dealing with all of those exact same things, and so it's a very nice connector for both of them. Dany, the one using them, Jon defending against them, but it was just a very nice tie-in for these two, completely, thousands of miles apart, but It was a very nice one. So she thinks that Jorah gave her this book the day she wed Khal Drogo, but she probably should have killed him, she thinks. And
Definitely should have.
she decides to flee the choice and stop thinking about it. She goes out onto the terrace where she finds Rhaegal asleep, and Drogon is perched up on the pyramid, but she can't see Viserion anywhere. And, she thinks like, oh shit, they're getting pretty big and they're doing their thing.
Right,
and
they're out eating children.
one day they may not come back when they're out flying around. Like, And so Barristan comes up behind her, and she's like, dude, what do you want? Like, I spared you. I let you live. Like, maybe give me some fucking space right now, bruh.
He's like, oh, sorry. Actually, when I swore my sword, I meant I swear to be around you every waking moment just to ensure you're safe at all times, and there's nothing you can do about that
I
anymore.
also like this sneaky little, like, so I knew all of your father's dirty little secrets. I was sworn to him. But you're his daughter, and now you're my rightful queen, so, like, I can tell you.
You're allowed to know everything.
Is there anything you want to know? Any hot goss you want to know? Like, just ask. And she's like, oh, I've got a million questions, but I can't think of any. Fuck. Which, real. And then she asks, was he truly mad? And, all she knows of her father is what Viserys told her. And Viserys was fucking mad himself. And so he tells her that Viserys was a child and your mother sheltered him as much as she could. But, yeah, your dad was kind of a dick. And then she's like, wait, do we want to have this?
Not here. Not today.
And Barristan's like, yeah, no, probably
the planets,
not.
They're not in alignment.
They're not in alignment for this.
Not today.
And she says, all right, so one day you'll tell me the good and the bad, which means that he will never get to tell her because...
Right, Jon Snow, next time we see each other, I'll tell you all about your mother.
Yeah, I was one day from retirement, so... But she does say there is some good to be said of my father, surely, and he's like, there is, like, yeah, like,
he's a charismatic fella, and when he was a younger guy, I just keep picturing doofy little Viserys the First there, like, playing with his models and shit until he lights it all on fire and becomes a Mad King, but...
Yeah, Patty gave him much more character than he ever had in the books, but, yeah, and he says, Rhaegar, though, like most of all, Rhaegar was the baddest bitch.
He was just a cool fucking dude, man.
And so Dany's like, yeah, I wish I could have known him. And Barristan's like, I wish he had known you. Like, he would have thought you were dope shit, too. And so that night, she eats, she has some wine, and it's, it's good. But she wonders if Rhaegar had ever grown so weary, or did Aegon grow weary with his sister wives and his conquest. So she has Eerie, fucker.
So before that,
yeah.
Because you mentioned the sisters and such, there was a point earlier on when she was first holding court there that she mentioned that there's only 2 other people in the world. There are 3 people that she can trust in the whole world. I assume that those will be her dragon riders.
Right, that the 3 heads have the dragon.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a fun thing to be kind of opening and then closing out the chapter with is she needs her dragon riders, her blood riders, the other 2 heads, and her fucking Eerie here just as a dopamine release, makes sense. And then
she needs to come before she can sleep. And then she, is only picturing Daario the whole time, and she's like, damn, like if I just want him, like all I need to do is say so. And then she thinks about his eyes, how his eyes almost looked purple today. And, like, those Targaryens, they love fucking family. So, like, but
sister.
Her dreams were dark that night, and she awoke 3 times from half-remembered nightmares. And after the 3rd, she just said fuck it and goes out to the terrace again. And is just kind of staring at the moonlight.
Then Missandei pops up on her, just right by her elbow, like
the Dwight meme, Dwight and Angela.
And she, again, this is, while it seems very sincere from Missandei, it also has this kind of feeling of terror, where Dany's like, promise me you will never lie to me or betray me.
Don't you ever betray me.
Don't you fucking
or I will hang you from a post.
Of course I won't, and because you will fucking hang me from a post and let me melt out by the sun while the birds eat my face off. Like, you can be damn sure I ain't gonna be lying about you or doing none of that shit.
Yeah, Missandei asks, like, are you well? What are you looking at? And Dany says, my city. I was looking for a house with a red door, but by night all the doors are black. And Missandei's like, what the fuck are you on about, bitch? Like, there's plenty of red doors down there. Red is a common color paint. And
Right.
we know the red door has, it's the only place Dany ever felt at home, but by night all the doors are black. The symbolism here being like, home is where Dany's going to make it, and she doesn't feel at home here. And so you would think that she would kind of take that sign, but...
She takes it as the opposite, that she needs to settle down and figure her shit out.
Right.
Learn how to do this.
It's dawn. Dawn, like her and Missandei watch the sun rise as Dany holds her hand, and it's a beautiful sunrise.
Lie to me and I'll throw you off this fucking pyramid.
You're going to fucking stand here and watch this sunrise with me. Tell me it's beautiful. And they do, and it's nice. The birds begin to chirp in the persimmon tree, and Dany begins to hear the song of the city as it wakes. The sounds of...
Everything is awesome.
the sounds of my city, she thinks. And then she summons all her commanders to the garden rather than down to the audience chamber. And she says that Aegon brought fire and blood to Westeros, and then after gave them peace, prosperity, and justice. But all I've brought to Slaver's Bay is death and ruin. I've been more call than queen, smashing and plundering and moving on. And all of them are like, right, because fuck this place. There's nothing worth staying for. It's a slaver's colony. Like, that's all they do here is sell flesh. And she's like, well, I'm going to change that. So... Missandei says, you've brought them freedom as well. And she's like, the freedom to starve? Missandei? the freedom to fucking starve? And Missandei's like, whoa, okay, my bad, girl. Like,
I had your back here, so I was just, trying to hype you up a little bit.
Yeah. So Dany says, how can I rule 7 kingdoms if I can't rule a single city? And they're all, like, awkwardly looking at each other because she just went off on Missandei. And she's like, my children need time to heal and learn, and my dragons need time to grow, and I need the same. So she's not leaving. She will not march. And Ricardo is like, so what are we going to do then?
What are we doing then?
And she says she's going to stay and rule and be a queen. And so that's decision made. Dany's not going to Westeros. Fuck it.
Fuck
it. It all doesn't matter.
Ricardo's like, I only joined up because you promised that I was going to be stationed in Hawaii, and instead you're putting me in...
Right, they, like, all the Dothraki have been taking fucking therapy lessons for crossing the sea, and now they're like, oh, so all those hours we spent preparing for a sea journey mean fucking nothing. Thanks, bitch.
Well, I'm going to go drown myself in the bay. I appreciate it. Guess I'm a Greyjoy now.
No, it's clear that this chapter, George is kind of setting up for there to be a gap, and that there's a lot in this that indicate that Dany's got a lot of growing up to do, her dragons as well, and it's an interesting little snapshot into what could have been.
Yeah, because then we're going to get into Dance, and Dance is just going to go absolutely nuts.
It's a mess. The city's a fucking mess. The Harpy will be coming up to bite her right in the ass. Mm-hmm. She'll have to be getting married to his Darzo Lorak.
Opening up, and
the Harpy will be killing her freedmen, and there's gonna be a
full-on battle of fucking Mereen. It's one of the 2 big battles that we're expecting.
The slavers ain't done, not by a long shot. Dany is gonna
Victarion's showing up down there.
He's a fucking idiot.
We'll
meet Victarion next book, though. But,
exciting.
It's wild to me that while the show did it horribly, I will not dispute that at all, Dany very clearly doesn't have a great trajectory coming in The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. I don't think she's the hero of this story. She is a little too self-serving, self-aggrandizing, and she's got, again, and I will never stop saying it from my soapbox, 3 fucking nuclear warheads that she controls alone.
And that one of the last lines of this chapter, of her final chapter of this book, is her questioning herself whether she has the taint, whether she has the madness.
Taint. We've all got a taint, Dany.
And if she has a little extra taint.
She wants Dario to lick that taint.
Extra taint. I want Dario to lick that taint.
I mean, Dario is a fucking stud.
But she still hasn't realized, some of her more egregious actions. Yes, she realized that she was pushing some boundaries with the masters in the center of town.
Yeah.
But she still did it. And then she still allowed it to continue when she could have kept the sloughing off of the bones to a minimum and pulled them down or put them out of their miseries. Not, again, that they deserved it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be gathered from this final chapter of hers.
No, like, the Grandmasters deserve death. So hang them. So behead them. You don't fucking
force them to.
Don't crucify them.
It's torture.
And leave them to sit and bake in the hot sun with flies crawling in their open wounds and festering and all this shit.
You can't respond to war crimes with worse war crimes.
Right. It's still a war crime if you're committing war crimes. And it's that. I've known plenty of people in my life that
have committed war crimes?
Well, that too.
Damn.
As far as the Targaryen taint, just to recognize it isn't enough. Just to ask, like, oh, I might have it.
Right.
I can avoid it now because I'm self-aware. Like, I've known plenty of people in my life that are like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, hi, my name is Dany, and I'm a Targaryen.
That doesn't mean they stop drinking because they recognize that they're an alcoholic. They keep on fucking drinking. Like, Dany may recognize, oh, yeah, there's a taint in my family. That doesn't mean she's not going to fucking crucify people or burn them with her dragons or
give into or not be able to recognize the taint in its
that
physical,
she's going too far with things. Yeah, exactly.
Manifestations.
Not to mention the mistake of, like, sometimes not going far enough. Not killing Jorah here was absolutely a mistake. Letting him go it's a weakness. That's not a good fucking decision as far as leaders in this world.
Right. We know that he's going to be returning because he's alive. He's going to be attempting to bring Tyrion with him, but that I believe they get separated.
Well, they get captured. They get enslaved.
They're together in the
They're
pit,
outside the city, enslaved, him and Tyrion and Penny.
I forgot that they stayed together.
Yeah. He gets fucked up. He gets his face tattooed and everything. But, yeah, he absolutely...
Good, because as Carl knows, like, having the face tattoos, like, you should look like a degenerate, and it's disgusting. And now your face even more so matches your horrible actions, Jorah Mormont.
Yeah, to be honest, this isn't my favorite Dany chapter. I don't really like this whole fucking looking down upon the city and postulating what to do with my city. It makes Dany very unrelatable to me, in a sense of I see the taint very clearly here, and I think this chapter makes her one of the most unlikable Dany chapters I think there is, and I think that's by design. I could be mistaken, but Dany does not seem like the relatable...
It's very first world problem.
I'm going to save everyone. Yeah, it seems like
millionaire
the white savior coming in and being like, oh, people don't really love me, but they will. They will. Don't worry.
Right, Miss Sendai? You don't...
Right. Don't you ever fucking betray me. I swear to God. Yeah, like, all right, girl. All right, put your fucking pumpkin spice latte down, take off your Ugg boots, and let's chill the fuck out, Dany. So, not my favorite Dany chapter. I think it's a great chapter, but it's a interesting end of the book for her.
Yeah, it's her... I don't think that she's making necessarily wrong decision there. It's a wrong decision, but she is trying to... Listen, if I'm going to rule... Like, to me, it's very... This city is fucking disposable. Let's practice with this Sims, and then when I go to my actual...
There is self-awareness with the, like, I hit Astapor, and look at Astapor now. It's in the hands of some Butcher King, which,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure why she immediately is like, oh, this slave butcher, he can't rule shit any better than the council that I imposed. Like... Maybe King Cleon is the shit, and maybe he's just, throwing parties for everyone every night, and like...
And it's very funny, because it's, what you want is that, the Democratic Council to be ruling the land, We know that there's a small council over in Westeros.
Right.
That was her small council for her being the queen of Astapor.
Right.
Like, yes, she said that it was under their rule, but if she shows back up, you better fucking listen to her.
Right,
like, why would
exactly.
you not listen to the queen of
I
dragons?
do think the self-awareness of, like, I've been more Khal than queen is, like, good. Like, that's a start.
That's correct.
And, yeah, so wanting
How
to
do you
stay
fix that?
and fix it, but you may not be the one to fix it,
Right.
and that's something that she's not willing to even entertain. And we'll see that in Dance, that she flies in the face of a lot of beliefs in this city and goes against them. I mean, it already started. People were already murmuring about her getting rid of the throne and being like a fucking bench. This bitch wants to rule from a bench.
Based off of what she's wanting to accomplish, which is completely change the entire foundation of everything in Slaver's Bay. It's called fucking Slaver's Bay. If you go to push that to the extreme, the only way to truly accomplish that is wipe out what exists.
Is to destroy it.
And start new.
Yeah.
That's the extreme that she's aiming towards right now. How else do you don't? Because you're going to end up with the King Cleon, the Butcher.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with the Harpy Uprising. You have to literally genocide the population of this area and start from scratch. And eventually it's going to be the same thing anyway.
Bricks and blood built Astapor, and bricks and blood are people. And so, yeah, right. You either wipe the slate clean and start over, or you cut your losses, you take the gold and shit that you're trying to plunder to get where your initial goal was, which you can't because you disassembled your ships to take it. And so, yeah, she's kind of up shit's creek no matter which way she slices it, because she added this side quest.
It's funny because she sent Jorah and Barristan up shit's sewer, and now she's up it herself.
Right. Yeah. And she's got no paddle because she used those to break down the city gates. That be Dany for A Storm of Swords, y'all. It's been quite the journey. I really did enjoy a lot of the Dany chapters in this book, but this last one, it rings some alarm bells for me.
I enjoyed it for a different reason, because it really, again, highlights this downfall that's being upplayed as a triumphant conquering.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. I'm excited.
This chapter is a bit alarming as far as Dany's overall arc. I don't think the best decisions are being made. Not to mention the council that she has around her is pretty fucking sketchball.
It's wild.
Like,
it's yo-yoing, because, yeah, you're going
We know Brown Ben is going to turn and, betray her, and then turn back because he's wishy-washy as hell. Barristan is old and done. Jorah was clearly a fucking snake. Dario is the sketchiest motherfucker of them all.
Right, we're all just sitting here praying for fucking
Ricaro and Grey Worm are the only ones I really trust. Grey Worm is indebted to her. Missandei similar. It's these, I owe you my life because you gave me my life. And that's a form of slavery in and of itself. Right. And like that, we just saw with her grabbing Missandei by the fucking hand and being like, don't ever betray me.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's a debt. There's a cost
scary.
here.
It's scary, Dany.
Yeah, Dany, you're worrying me. Dany, you're worrying me.
That does it. That does it for Dany, which means that we're even faster than I expected coming to the end of this book.
Yeah, we're moving right along. Next, we're joining Jaime 8. Jaime will be seeing the fallout of his brother's trial by combat because Oberyn Martell screwed the pooch and dropped the ball. Because snakes don't have hands, remember?
Yeah,
that was the joke.
Got it.
And so, yeah.
Join us for that one. Write into us if you want to write in.
Y'all, we won't be hearing from Dany for a whole book.
A whole goddamn book. We'll be getting plenty of new point of views to replace her for the time being, but... yeah, so if you want to talk to us about anything that happened in this chapter, it's going to happen next chapter.
We threw out some wild opinions in this one,
crazy
so
shit.
I could see some.
Without Manners Brotherhood at gmail.com is how you can get us there. As we've mentioned before, brothers are cooking up something new and sweet on this side of the microphone, so
yeah,
stay tuned for that.
There will be some announcements coming soon, before the end of Storm for sure. So keep your ears peeled. We're still not doing social media, so there's nothing really there.
It exists. Like, by all means, follow us, but the best thing you can do is like us, subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, comment, the bells, all that kind of shit. The follows and the likes and the hearts and the bells and thumbs. Do that for us. We appreciate it. I think we're pushing The numbers are going up, guys. I don't know what we're doing, what you think is changing, but you're listening more and more people are listening, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate you, and I think that's it. I think I'm done talking this episode.
Thank God.
Fuck, I hate you sometimes.
Vala Harris.
Peace.